Assalamualaikum and very good morning to all my beloved students. So let's go to learn 12.3 Neurons and Synapse. Okay, so please open your textbook and go to 12.3 Neurons and Synapse. Okay, so let's go to the learning standard that you have to cover for today. Okay, pupils are able to draw and label. Draw and label structures of a sensory neuron and a motor neuron. So the structures of the neuron consist of dendrite, axon, cell body, myelin sheath, and node of Ranvier. So all of these are structures of a sensory and also motor neuron. Then we go to the number 2, analyze the functions of each type of neuron in impulse transmission. Analyze the function of each type of neuron. Then we go to the number 3, explain the structure and function of synapse. Explain the structure and function of synapse. Number 4, explain the transmission of impulse across a synapse. Explain the transmission of impulse across a synapse. Okay, so all of these are referred to the learning standards that you have to understand for today. Alright, so let's go to the neurons or nerve cells. Okay, so now we are going to learn the structures, the structures of nerve cell, or the other words is neurons. Neurons is the other name for the nerve cells. So this is referred to the nerve cell, nerve cell or neuron. So when you look at this structure or this diagram, so this is referred to the nerve cell. The other name for the nerve cell is neuron. Okay, so now let's go to the structures. Structures of the neuron. Okay, we go to the first structure. So this one. So this is referred to the cell body. Okay, so this is referred to the cell body. Please take note. It's not the body cell. It is cell body. So what is the function of the cell body? Consists of, okay, before that, I refer to the characteristic of the cell body. Consists of a nucleus and dendrites. Consists of a nucleus and dendrite. So this is referred to the nucleus and this is referred to the dendrite. So cell body consists of dendrites and also the nucleus. Okay, now we go to the function. So you have to remember the function of each structure. So function of the cell body integrates signals, signals in the form of the impulse, in the form of the nerve impulse, okay, or in other words, in the form of electrical signals, and coordinate metabolic activities, coordinate metabolic activities of the cell. Okay, that is referred to the function of the cell body. Okay, we go to the second structure, which is dendrite. So this is referred to the dendrites. Okay, this one also dendrite. Okay, this is also dendrite. Okay, so what is a dendrite? Okay, later we will discuss about that, right? Okay, so it is a short branches of the body cell. Okay, short branches. It is a short branches of the body cell. Okay, what is the function of the dendrite? Receive nerve impulse from other neurons and send to the cell body. Right? Okay, so you have to remember that dendrite will receive nerve impulse from the other neurons. So this is referred to the dendrite. So dendrite will receive nerve impulse from the other neuron, and send it to the cell body. Send the nerve impulse to the to the cell body. Okay, next we go to this structure. So this is referred to the axon. Axon. A-X-O-N. Axon. Yeah. So axon. So what is the function of the axon? Okay, before that, we go to the characteristic of the axon. An elongated branch of the body cell. Right? So this is referred to the elongated branch of the body cell. Okay, so what is the function of the axon? So it carries impulse out of the cell body to other neurons or effectors. Okay, so what is the function of the axon? It carries impulse from the body. Sorry, from the cell body. Yeah, it carries impulse from here, from the cell body to the other neuron. Yeah, to the other neuron or to the effectors. Yeah, okay, so that is referred to the axon. So this is referred to the axon. Yeah, the whole thing here is, the whole structure here is axon. Right? So what is function? To carries nerve impulse from the cell body to the other neuron or to the effectors. Okay, next we go to this one. So there is a cliff here, alright? So not insulated by myelin sheath. Yeah, not insulated by myelin sheath. Okay, so this is referred to the myelin sheath. Later I will explain about the function of the myelin sheath. Okay, so this one. This is referred to the gap. Yeah, gap between the myelin sheath here. The whole thing is axon. Yeah, the branch here is referred to the axon. So this is referred to the myelin sheath. Yeah, myelin sheath. Okay, myelin sheath. So between the myelin sheath there is a gap here. Yeah, so we call as node of Ranvier. Yeah, node of Ranvier. Okay, what is the function of the node of the Ranvier? Helps to accelerate, yeah, or fasten. Yeah, help to accelerate the flow of nerve impulse by allowing the nerve impulse to jump from one node to the following node. Right? Okay, so or in a short sentence, you can write helps to accelerate the flow of nerve impulse. Yeah, helps to fasten the flow nerve impulse. Okay, so that is referred to the structure of the node of Ranvier. Okay, next we go to this one, the myelin sheath. So this is referred to the myelin sheath. Yeah, so make sure you can write the correct spelling here. Myelin sheath, right? An insulating membrane that causes the axon, an insulating membrane. So it will insulate. So it is an insulator. Insulator to the axon. Yeah, it is insulator to the axon here. So what is the function of the myelin sheath? It protects the neurons from injury. Yeah, protects the neurons from injury. Functions as insulator for electrical impulse and also provide nutrients to the axon. Right? So this is referred to the myelin sheath. Yeah, myelin sheath here, myelin sheath here, myelin sheath here. And this between the myelin sheath, it is node of Ranvier. So the whole thing here is axon. Yeah, so please do not confuse. Yeah, please do not confuse. The short branch here, the elongated branch here, it is axon. Yeah, axon is covered by the myelin sheath here. Yeah, myelin sheath will protect the neurons. So the gap between the myelin sheath we call as node of Ranvier. So which structure will speed up the flow of the nerve impulse? It is node of Ranvier. Or and which structure will protect the neuron? It is myelin sheath. Yeah? So myelin sheath will protect the neuron. Okay, so which structure carries the impulse out from the cell body? So it is the axon. Alright? Okay, make sure you can remember the function and also the structure of the neuron. neuron. Okay, so this is referred to the synaptic knob. Yeah, it is a knob here. Alright, so we call as synaptic knob. Alright, swelling at the end of the axon. Yeah, at the end of the axon, so it will swollen here. The swollen part here we call as synaptic knob. Okay, the function of the synaptic knob: send signals, yeah, send impulse, yeah, to muscle cell or the effectors, yeah, or the other neuron dendrites. Okay, so this is referred to the function of the synaptic knob. Synaptic knob. Okay, what is the function of the synaptic knob? Send electrical impulse or send signals, yeah, to effector or to the muscle cell, okay, or to the other neuron. Okay, so make sure you can remember the structure of the nerve cell, because I will use these terms, yeah, so I will use this term to explain, yeah, to explain about the types of the neurons, and also regarding the transmission of the nerve impulse. So make sure you can remember. So this is referred to the cell body. So this is referred to the dendrites. Okay, and this one referred to the axon. The whole thing here. Axon is covered by the myelin sheath here. Okay, protected by the myelin sheath, and a gap between the myelin sheath we call as node of the Ranvier. Okay, and at the end of the axon, okay, there is the swollen part here. Yeah, okay, we call as synaptic knob. Alright, okay, so the synaptic knob will send the impulse to the effector. Okay, so the flow of the nerve impulse is starting from the dendrite here. Yeah, the dendrite will receive the nerve impulse from the other neuron and send to the cell body. Okay, and then the cell body will send the nerve impulse to the axon here, yeah, to the axon here, and will send to the synaptic knob. Synaptic knob will send the signals to the other neuron or to the effector. Alright, so next we go to the types and function of neurons. Yeah? Types of the neurons and also its functions. So in our body, there are three types of neuron. Yeah, three types of neuron. Yeah. Okay, what are they? They are sensory neuron, interneuron, and also motor neurons. Yeah. Okay, I repeat, they are sensory neurons, interneurons, and also motor neurons. Okay, the other name for the sensory neuron is afferent neuron. Yeah, afferent neuron. Okay, so A refers to the sensory neuron. Okay, and then interneuron, the neuron within the central nervous system. It is a neuron within central nervous system. So then this neuron located in our brain or in our spinal cord. Yeah. And the third one is motor neuron. So motor neuron, the other name is efferent neuron. Efferent neuron. Okay, so this is referred to the three types of the neurons in our body, that you should know. They are afferent neuron, interneuron, and also efferent neuron. Okay, so please take a look on the location of the sensory neuron. So this is referred to the sensory organ. Yes, sensory organ. Alright, so we already discussed the flow of the transmission of the nerve impulse, right? Okay, so the nerve impulse is generated in the sensory cell. So this is referred to the sensory cell. Okay, so the sensory cell will generate the impulse and send to the afferent neuron. Yes, send to the afferent neuron. Okay, then the afferent neuron send the nerve impulse to the interneuron here. Yeah, interneuron here, and the impulse will send to the efferent neuron send the impulse to the effector, yeah, to carry out the response. Okay, so these three types of the neurons are very important in the transmission, yeah, of the nerve impulse. Okay, make sure you can know the location of the sensory neuron or the afferent neuron, and then the interneuron, and also the motor neuron. Okay, so let's go to the function of the afferent neuron. Yeah, so what is the function of the afferent neuron? Yeah, afferent neurons carries nerve impulse from the sensory organ receptor, from the sensory organ receptors to the central nervous system. Yeah, they are spinal cord and brain. Right? Okay, then the dendrite. So this is referred to the dendrite of the neuron. Yeah, the dendrite of the afferent neuron. So the dendrite receive the nerve impulse and send them to the cell body and transfer from the cell body through the axon to the relay neuron. Okay, so the relay neuron refer to the interneuron. Yeah, relay neuron is the other name for the interneuron. Okay, so the main function of the afferent neuron or sensory neuron is carries nerve impulse from the sensory organ, or from the receptor to the central nervous system. Yeah, to the central nervous system. So this one is the explanation. Yeah, the explanation for this function. Okay. Next, we go to the interneuron. Right? Okay, the other name is relay neuron. Okay, so what is the function of the interneuron? Alright, so interneuron transmit nerve impulse. Transmit, refer to the carries. Transmit nerve impulse between sensory organ receptors to central nervous system. And from the central nervous system, or from the central nervous to the motor neuron. Yeah, okay, so I repeat. So the interneuron transmit nerve impulse from the sensory organ to the central nervous system, and from the central nervous system to the motor neuron. Or in other words, okay, you can write the function is to transmit the nerve impulse from the afferent neuron to the efferent neuron. Okay, that is more simpler. Yeah, alright. So you can write the function of the interneuron is to transmit here the nerve impulse from the afferent neuron to the efferent neuron. Alright. Okay, so that is referred to the function of the interneuron or relay neuron. Okay, we go to the third functions of the third neurons. Yeah? Okay, they are motor neuron. So what is the function of the motor neuron? Receive nerve impulse from the relay neuron. Relay refer to the interneuron of the central nervous system and send nerve impulse to the effectors. Yeah, send nerve impulse to the effectors. Okay, so that is referred to the function of the neurons. Okay, so make sure you can know the three types of the neurons. Okay, they are sensory neuron, interneurons, and also motor neurons. Okay, what is the function of the sensory neurons? It carries nerve impulse from the receptors or from the sensory organ to the central nervous system. Okay, then we go to the function of the interneuron. So what is the function of the interneuron or relay neuron? It carries or it transmits the nerve impulse from the sensory neuron to the motor neuron. Okay, that's all. Then we go to the function of the motor neuron. So motor neuron will receive the impulse from the interneuron and send to the effectors. Alright, so that is referred to the types and function of the neurons. Okay, I hope you can understand that. Alright, so now we are going to learn about the structures and functions of synapse. Alright, okay, so what is synapse? Later we will find out. Alright, so we go to the first point here. Information is sent along the neuron through electrical signals known as nerve impulse. Okay, so you have to know that nerve impulse is electrical signals. Electrical signals. Alright. So there is a narrow gap. Alright. So there is a narrow gap called synapse. Synapse that separated the synaptic node from neuron dendrites. From neuron dendrites that receive the impulse. Okay, so what is a synapse? It is a narrow gap. It is a narrow gap between the synaptic node and also the dendrites of the other neuron. So this is an example of the synapse. Okay, this is referred to the axon terminal. There is a synaptic node here. So, and this is referred to the dendrites of the other neuron. So the narrow gap here we call as synapse. So all of these are synapse. Synapse here, and this one also the synapse. All the narrow gaps, the narrow gaps between the synaptic node and the dendrites of the other neuron, all of them we call as synapse. Okay. Electrical signals that carry information must be transferred across synapse. Okay. For impulse to be transmitted to the following neuron. Okay. So electrical signals here. Electrical signals that carry information. Information or electrical signals must across a synapse. Must across the synapse. To allow the transmission of the impulse to the following neuron. Alright, okay, so synapse play an important role in allowing nerve impulse to travel in one direction. Okay, so that is referred to the role or function of the synapse. Okay, what is the function of the synapse? It allows the nerve impulse to travel in one direction. In one direction. So therefore, synapse control the types of the impulse that pass through them. Okay, so this is referred to the synapse. It is referred to the synapse. Okay, so the signals, the electrical signal here will pass through the synapse. Will pass through the synapse, okay, to the other neuron. To the other neuron. Okay, so that is referred to the synapse. Okay, so you have to know what is a synapse and also what is the role of the synapse. Okay, again, so what is a synapse? It is a narrow gap. Narrow gap. Narrow gap that separated the synaptic node. Synaptic node of the neuron to the dendrites of the other neuron. Alright, okay, so that is referred to the synapse. It is a narrow gap. It is a narrow gap here that separate the synaptic node of the neuron here to the dendrites of the other neuron. So this is referred to the dendrites of the other neuron, and this is referred to the synaptic node of the neuron. Okay, so the gap here we call as synapse. Okay, we call as synapse. So synapse is important to allow the nerve impulse travel in one direction only. Right. Now, okay, the impulse are transmitted chemically across a synapse. Okay, you have to know that impulse are transmitted chemically. By chemical. So when the impulse arrive or reach to the synaptic knob here, okay, no more electrical signals. So the signals will be converted into chemical signals. Yeah, the electrical signals will converted into the chemical signals. Okay, why chemical signals? Because it involves chemical substance. Okay, let's go to the second point here. The chemical substance involved are neurotransmitters. Yeah, neurotransmitters that are kept in a synaptic vesicle that are found at the end of the synaptic knob. Okay, so this is referred to the synaptic knob here. Yeah, so in the synaptic knob there is a synaptic vesicle. So this is referred to the synaptic vesicle. Yes, synaptic vesicle. So inside the synaptic vesicle, there is a neurotransmitter. Yeah, there are neurotransmitter. Okay, neurotransmitter is inside the synaptic vesicle. Synaptic vesicle is found at the end of the synaptic knob. Alright, so the examples of the neurotransmitter here. Okay, there are few types of the neurotransmitter, so that you have to know they are acetylcholine, noradrenaline, yes, serotonin, and also dopamine. All of these are chemical substance or neurotransmitter. Yeah, they are acetylcholine, noradrenaline, serotonin, and also dopamine. Okay. Alright, so the process of transmitting nerve impulse through synapse is slow. Yeah, the process of transmitting nerve impulse through synapse is slow. Okay, as it occurs chemically. Alright, so the transmission that occur here, the transmission of the signal that occur here is slow because it occurs chemically. Okay, why chemically? Because it involves chemical substance. Okay. At first, the electrical signal will be changed to chemical signal in the form of neurotransmitter. Then the chemical signal is converted again to an electrical signal on the membrane of receiving neuron. Okay, so at first, the electrical signal will be changed to chemical signal. So when the electrical signals or the nerve impulse reach to the synaptic knob here. Okay, so the electrical signals or the nerve impulse will be converted or changed into what? Into chemical signals. Will be changed into chemical signals in the form of neurotransmitter. Yeah, in the form of the neurotransmitter. And the neurotransmitter here will be yeah, the neurotransmitter here will be converted again. Yeah, will be converted again to the electrical signal when once it reach the membrane of the dendrite of the other neuron here. Okay, later we will discuss about the transmission of the impulse across a synapse. Okay, you have to know that the transmission of the impulse is starting from the electrical signals here. Yeah, so once the electrical signal is reached to the synaptic knob, it will be changed into the chemical signal. Yeah, it will change into the chemical signals in the form of the neurotransmitter. So once the neurotransmitter pass over the pass over to the dendrites of the other neurons. So the chemical signals once again converted into electrical signal. Yeah, converted again to the electrical signal. So the transmission of the impulse here will involve the electrical signals to the chemical signals and back to the electrical signals. Alright. Okay, now we go to the transmission. Okay, how does the impulse or the signals are transmitted across a synapse? Okay, so again, so this is referred to the synapse. Okay, what is a synapse? It is a narrow gap between the synaptic knob and also the dendrites of the other neurons. Okay, so when the electrical impulse reach the synaptic knob, when the electrical impulse reach the synaptic knob here, synaptic vesicles are stimulated to release neurotransmitters into the synapse. Okay, so this is referred to the synaptic vesicle. Inside the synaptic vesicle is neurotransmitter. So once the electrical signal reach the synaptic knob, okay, so the electrical signal will be changed into the chemical signals in the form of the neurotransmitter. And then the synaptic vesicle will release the neurotransmitter into the synapse here. Okay, we go to the number 2. The neurotransmitter diffuse through the synapse. Okay, the neurotransmitter diffuse through the synapse. Okay, as you can see from the diagram here, the neurotransmitter diffuse across the synapse and combine to a specific protein receptor here. Combine to a specific receptor. So there is a receptor here, receptor that that bind with the neurotransmitter. So the location of the receptor is on the dendrites of the other neuron, or the receiving neuron. And then the binding of the neurotransmitter and the receptor stimulates the initiation of the next impulse. The impulse can be transmitted through the neuron. Okay, so once the neurotransmitter bind with the receptor, so it will start, it will convert it again, the chemical signal just now to the electrical signals, to the electrical signal. So now the electrical signal can pass or transmitted through the neuron. Okay, so that is referred to the transmission of impulse across a synapse. Okay, I repeat. When the electrical impulse reach the synaptic knob here, okay, what happened? The synaptic vesicle, that contain neurotransmitter here will release the neurotransmitter into the synapse. Okay, release the neurotransmitter into the synapse, and then the neurotransmitter diffuse across the synapse, okay, and bind or combine to a specific receptor on the receiving dendrites, or receiving neurons. And then the binding of the neurotransmitter to the receptor will cause the initiation or the conversion of the chemical signals to the electrical signals. And now the new impulse, the new electrical signals will be formed in the next neuron. Okay, right? Okay, so that is referred to the transmission of impulse across a synapse. Okay, make sure you can understand what we had learned today. So we had learned about the structures of the neuron and also the type of the neuron and its function. So make sure you can know the structures of the neuron and also the types of the neuron with their function. Okay, next we already learned about the synapse. Okay, make sure you can know how does the impulse, the impulse are transmitted, transmitted across a synapse, okay, across a synapse. Okay, please do your revision, please do your notes. Okay, make sure you can know all of the learning standards. Make sure you can understand all of the learning standards that we had learned for today. Okay, so I hope you can understand. Alright, if you have anything, girls, please PM to me. Alright, so please study by your own and please try to understand the important concept of this subject. Alright, okay, that's all for now. Thank you, girls. Stay safe. Take care, everyone.